on, fam? How is everybody doing? I hope you all are having a wonderful, 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 wonderful time, a wonderful day, wonderful week, all of that good stuff. And listen, we're not gonna be in here long. We don't have to do that today, so it just is what it is. I think this will be probably like a relatively not like long day that we have to be over here. So let's get right to it, fam, because ain't nothing to it but to do it. Hit that like button. We are still here once a week. So please hit that like button once a week. I am still here. So don't forget about it. And don't forget to also go to joinados.com if you have not done it. Joinados.com if you want to be a part of what we're doing. Membership. I can't stand glasses with a smudge. It will just tear me up. But make sure you absolutely do that if you want to be a part of real change. Or you can just be commemorating something that don't matter. And I mean, we love symbolic stuff, child. We'll just do whatever. Why was that? Ooh, hunty. Anyway, listen, we're not going to be here. And I mean it. I absolutely mean it today. We're not going to be here really a long time. But I wanted to touch on something I touched on last night on the Patreon. But I think I went like really more deep into it with the Patreon. But, that's a different kind of setup. But I wanted to go into not the election results, but something that happened before that. So, one good thing that happened last night, I was so happy considering all of what happened in Kentucky. I'm so happy that he just didn't make it. You want to talk about, sometimes you just gotta take your wins where you take your wins. Sometimes that's just what it is. I'm happy that you did all that. You did all that. Everybody remembers Brianna, and everybody remember everything. You did all of that, child. I'm just happy that you did all of that. Ooh, it's something when you do a whole lot of tap dancing and stuff, and the stuff just still don't work out for you. Ain't that something? Ooh, I love it. Anyway, but I want to go on to something, and I want to just I think when I did the Patreon show yesterday, I did a granular level kind of, analysis, and we talked about this in terms of racial environmentalism, environmental racism, I should say it that way. We talked about it in that context. I want to talk about it in another context right now. We want to take it out and have more of an eagle's view of the thing. So you all saw Democratic Rep Scorched for claiming black voters leaning Trump just don't understand any of how this works. Now, y'all know I have said that's not how any of this works multiple times. They're talking about, let me bring up who we're talking about, because they're talking about, they're talking about this young lady. She's actually, where is she at? She's somewhere. She's a state lawmaker, Jasmine Crockett. Not to be confused with Davy Crockett. Yeah, no, I be acting. But let me just say a few things, because like I said, we're not going to be here long. But there's some things she said that I think were true that are becoming less true. Right? Like, it is true. Like, sometimes, fam, we got to own our own stuff. Now, she's talking to us like we're stupid now. No. We were a little unsophisticated in terms of voting blue no matter who, right? Like, that's not the way to do politics. So you're still stuck in that moment while we are moving away from that moment. We are beginning to say the same thing and understand what I have always said, which is that politics, especially voting, is an exchange. When you go to the voting booth, even though Obama tried to tell y'all that voting is not transactional, it is. When I go, I vote for an agenda. I measure up those policy concerns and see how they impact me. I just don't go because you're scaring me to the polls. We are not going to allow Democrats to boogeyman us to the polls anymore. That's what's happening. But I want to go to what she said, because I like to kind of, I don't want to just, and I'm not trying to bash her. This is a teachable moment in a lot of ways. So CNN State of the Union host Dana Bash spoke to a panel on her show about a recent report from the New York Times. Trump leads in 5 critical states as voters blast Biden Times Siena poll finds. Now, they did better. The Democrats did better than they expected, so there's hope, they think, for them. But we're going to get to that report really quickly, and we're going to talk about what it means, and we're going to talk about what she said. So let's just continue right here. The report included polling that claimed black voters, long a bulwark for Democrats and for Mr. Biden, are now registering 22% support in these states for Mr. Trump, a level unseen in presidential politics for a Republican in modern times. That's a huge number, and I'm going to give you something to compare that to. Before I go on to what she's saying, I want to show you, like in modern times, the person who the Republican who I remember doing close to this in our era is probably George W. Bush. So you see black, this is 2005, at 16%. That's the closest I feel, because you remember 2000 was like Bush v. Gore. That's the closest I can recall, because you have to give these things some kind of context, right? You got to do it. You got to give them some kind of context. So here is what Jasmine Crockett of Texas, a Democrat out of Texas, she had some things to say about that. Bash addressed Crockett and read an excerpt from the report. In a remarkable sign of gradual racial realignment between the two parties, the more diverse the swing state, the farther Mr. Biden was behind, and he led only the whitest of the six. It's really scary for me, Crockett replied, before going on to explain why she thinks this shift appears to be happening. Right? Now, before we let her explain why she thinks the shift is happening, let me say one other thing that's happening. ADOS people are starting to see what has happened with Latinos. Now, what do you mean, Yvette? Well, Latinos have been splitting their vote between Republicans and white folk. I mean, Republicans and white Democrats, but same thing, child. Between the parties, right? So they have been splitting, and what's been happening is that Democrats take off and chase them. Same thing with conservative-leaning white voters who used to vote Democrat. They have been going Republican, and the party has become more conservative. So you can't really blame ADOS Democrats for now transitioning, because we see that everybody else that goes to split their vote, they get something. Like Democrats start chasing them. They don't start shaming them, they start chasing them. So if you're going to follow, if you were to look at that, and I don't vote Republican, I do down ballot, and you see a lot of people doing down ballot right now and not getting in trouble for it. When we did it, it was voter suppression. Oh my God, these people are trying to suppress the vote. But now that we've had all this stuff going on in the Middle East, guess what's happening? You see a lot of people who are pro Palestine saying, I'm not voting for Biden again. Right? And nobody's saying, oh my God, how could you dare suppress the vote? Some people go on the other way. You haven't done enough or whatever. How could you, nobody's saying, how could you suppress the vote? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. You are engaged in voter suppression. Nobody now who is saying, I'm not voting for Biden. I will take part in politics. I'm going to vote for other people, but they're saying the same thing we said in the last election. I'm not voting top of the ticket, and they're not getting shamed for it, right? And they're not leaving the process. So all these people before who were like, well, you gotta just sit down. If no tangibles, no votes, you gotta go sit down somewhere, and that's gonna make change happen. No, we're not getting out of the political process altogether, and you have to do it as a group so you can make a boom and a splash. And then people come back and say, what do you want? So I say all that to say, it does not make sense to me for somebody to say what she's about to say, given what we have seen happen with Latino voters, given what we've seen happen with white voters who have left the Democratic Party. When people leave the party goes chasing them. We have not been rewarded as a group for sticking with the party. And so if you're not rewarded for sticking with the party, it certainly makes sense that you would go somewhere else and say, listen, I see what everybody else do to get their needs met. I'm going to do it too. But watch what she says. Here's the deal. Perception is reality. And so when you look at the data that was provided in this poll, it talks about how people feel. Okay? It talks about how people feel. It is all about how you feel in that moment. She said, while the facts may not align with their feelings are dictating their reality, and their reality is what they feel better or they felt better when Trump was in office. Now, let me come out here for a second. I have said that typically We allow ourselves to be manipulated, but it's typically recently by Democrats who say, oh my God, every time we try to talk about it, or talk about, hey, this is what's important to us. Oh, we ain't got time for that. We ain't got time to be listening to what you be talking about what's important to you. We don't have time. We don't have time to listen about nothing you got to say. You got to get in there and make sure you got to, what, I remember when Romney was running. We can't let Romney get in there. Now Romney turned out to be one of the most moderate Republicans. They told us, they said he was Beelzebub. You can't let Beelzebub, it's going to be awful if he gets in there. Oh my God. Okay, you can't let McCain get in there. Oh my God. How could, you can't. Every time they tell us we ain't got time to talk. Like I said last night, anybody who tells you in any part of your life, every time you express yourself about something that you need to talk about, some kind of need you have that's not being met. If every time you express yourself and say that, I said this last night, if every time you do that, they say we ain't got time to talk about it, y'all got to break up. Because if every time I start talking about my needs and what I need, you say, we ain't got time today. I got stuff to do. I got stuff to pick up. Somebody, it's all kind of people on the phone. I can't do. No. What kind of relationship is this? So what kind of political relationship is this? So what's happening is that, and we used to be this way. Don't think this is new. We have typically, this is the biggest in modern times in terms of the black vote. I'm going to go back and show you that we have done this before. Now, that bespeaks a problem for me too, because what that means is that we can't do it the last time we did, the way we did the last time. We've done it with other people. We can't continue to do the same thing the same way either. Like, this can't be get back. Y'all know what I mean? This can't be just you decided to go get your lick back. So we decided, we showed them. We didn't even vote for them, and then you walk off and you don't get no agenda. Okay, so you walk off and you become a spoiler for the Democrats. That's fine. But you got to still have something. You got to determine what 20% means for you. If you are going to give the GOP 20% of your vote, you have got to quantify what that means, and you have got to have a conversation. You don't want to go from giving your vote to one party to your vote to the other party, and you still ain't getting nothing. 20% has to have a cost. What is the cost of 20? What's the cost of 15? What's the cost of 30? What's the cost of 40? You have to put a price on that percentage that you're going to give to that party. Right? That's why, and listen, that's why joint ADOS is so important, because somebody has to advocate for you. When they come around and they say, well, who do we go to? And who do we talk to? What do y'all want? Somebody got to say you got to talk to ADOS AL. That's what's got to happen, because ain't nobody else. Everybody, well, I tell you what we need. We need business. Who said that's all we need? Who told you that? Well, somebody who got a business, and that's all they need. We can't have that. This has to be collective. But let me show you something else she said. So when she's talking about the field, she's not totally wrong. It's just that, like, this is where we're coming out of it kind of into something else. It's a nuanced conversation. Crockett added that Democrats have been trying to push back against this, even as some very popular African-American artists out here saying things like, oh, I got checks when Trump was in office. I want those checks again, not understanding those checks came from Congress. Now, I do agree that you should not be listening to any kind of artist when it comes to things like this. Like, this is something you don't want to listen to. But let me go back to the top of something she said. She said we have to deal with perception. And I want to bring that up because I've seen this more than one time. Like, this is not the first time I have seen somebody say the problem we have is one of perception. And we have to deal with the perception that people have about the party, right? So we have to deal with the fact that people are saying that they have to deal with perception. I think it was Jamal Simmons. I might have that tweet here, where he said the same thing. We have to deal with perception. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a perception problem. The problem that we have, ladies and gentlemen, has nothing at all to do with perception. The problem that we have here is one of politics and policy and agenda and priorities. Remember, time Biden got in office, he said we can't do nothing on reparations. Wait a minute, you didn't say you were going to try. You didn't say we're going to listen. I need everybody to understand this. We tend to, and we have gotten caught up in this too as citizens, not just as ADOS. We tend to, I wish I could find that I was looking for, but we tend to view people or our politicians as sort of like a weather vane. And that becomes a problem for this particular reason. We tend to look at politicians and say, well, what are you going to do? Like we did that with Obama. Well, what are you going to do? There was a lot he could do. He walked in with a Democratic Congress and he had all kind of agencies that were under his control. He could have given more loans in terms of SBA for business. But we tend to ask that a lot. Well, what is he going to do? What is she going to do? What they going to do? What they going to... And we don't understand, it's not just, the job of a politician is not just to put their finger up in the air and see which way the wind is blowing and go that way. A politician also has the job of prioritizing. As a politician, part of your job is to prioritize and to influence. So if you feel like that the base of your party is on board with reparations and putting together a reparations framework, and this is the base of your party, what you are supposed to do is reach out to concerned parties over here, the people who got this conversation going, ADOS, and say, help me help you. Help me work on the messaging. Help me work on the sale. Help me figure out how to sell this to the rest of America. You are supposed to figure out the messaging. You're supposed to tweak it in such a way that it works, that it works. And if you want to see messaging that didn't work, you ain't got nowhere. You know where you can go? Go look at Obamacare. Obama, the first Kenyan white president, allowed those people to name that bill after him. You don't know, that was the wrong name, and it shouldn't have been the Health Care Act either. It needed to be something better than that. I don't know what you call it, the Disease-Free Act. I don't know what you call. I ain't thought about it long, but I'm saying that messaging, fam, messaging. When you care about something and it's a priority for your administration or your party, messaging becomes very, 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 very important. Messaging is important. So when it becomes that, you have to figure out, how do I sell this? Not, well, it ain't. Listen, we have pushed up. Do y'all know how much further, how much more of a priority, or how it's gone down now? It slid down. It slid down the approval for reparations, only because a lot of people who couldn't make the case got hold of it. So it's a lot of people that got hold of the reparations language and went out and started talking loud and know what they was talking about. A lot of old people came back in who had already failed. A lot of new people came back in and started regurgitating talking points. So it's a lot of reasons why those numbers have slid back down. But we can get those numbers back up and back. They're still further up than what they used to be. But when you see that kind of trajectory and you know this group is a priority, you have to get to work. It ain't my job to just say, well, what is it polling? It ain't polling good. Well, I don't know. I guess us can't do it then, can we, sir? If you say, sir, we can't do it, then, sir, I know we can't do it. We might, some maybe 100 years, sir, we can. No. So she goes back into perception. So we have a couple of things, the perception issue, and then we also have an issue as it relates to civics in this country and people not understanding exactly how any of this works. Now, have you asked us, though? Have you asked us? I would agree, a lot of us don't know how it works, but have you asked? Like, it's funny, you never get on TV and say, initially, people are very careful. Even when white folk were saying all kind of crazy stuff, people didn't just get on TV and say, they don't know how none of this works. It took a lot, and people, no, these are good white folks. They the salt of the earth. Now, don't be talking about them. They the salt of the earth. They people from Kansas. They from middle America. You can't talk about them like that. But you say, we don't know. Have you polled to ask people why? Have you tried to commission a poll to ask ADOS, why do you feel this way? Why do you feel left out? Have you thought yourself about why? Maybe it's because nothing is improving and everything's going down. Maybe we're looking at the Obama administration and realizing that he gave us the gig economy and he created a bunch of new white millionaires. Maybe we're looking back on some of the mistakes that we've made. Maybe this community is being influenced in other people that you might not think. Maybe there are videos of people on YouTube who get 10, 15, 20, 30,000 views and are influencing more people than people on TV. Maybe there are a lot of things here, Miss Crockett, that I don't think you've probably explored, and you probably should explore in your downtime. Right? These are just some things. And let me just put up, I think, is this the part, does Bush, because I wanted to also, gotta have some context for it. In the 2000, well, the 2000, that was the highly contested one where Gore was taking off with stuff. So the 2000 presidential race, Bush got 8% of the black vote. But then when you go to when you look at what happened after the next election, when they talked about in 2005, he really upped that number. We ain't seen that in a long time though, right? That's something to be worried about. According to exit polls from 2020 election, President Donald Trump received 12% of the black vote. When looking back on the data from Roper Center for Public Opinion and Research, there have been numerous candidates who performed better than Trump among black voters last century. Richard Nixon, who gave us black business without finance. See, that's the thing you have to watch with these Republicans though. You got to watch both of them. Like you got to understand in this game we don't have no friends. Like we have to make some political calculations, but you have to understand we don't have no friends. Don't think that like no, that's the party, and they go, we have no friends. So we have to push an agenda and keep our eyes square on that, because Nixon said y'all don't want no government help, do you? You just want business. And we said yeah, we just want business, and he didn't give you nothing to help you with no business. You have no money, no wealth, and he was telling you, patting you on the back, attaboy. Richard Nixon received 15% of the vote in 1968. Gerald Ford 17%, and 1976 Ronald Reagan won 14%. But it's still the biggest is Bush in the modern era. Ooh. But you have to have the context, because people will be like, that ain't never happened before. And even with Bush, like even when you look at what he talked about today, he was still a different kind of candidate in terms of how he communicated and how he spoke. He talked about it was shocking. I'm just trying to put this in context. Remains a shocking failure, he said, that many African Americans, especially young African American men, harassed and threatened in their own country. Woo! Bush said, as he argued that the doctrine and habits of racial superiority, which once nearly split our country, still threaten the Union today. I don't know. Listen. People say a lot when they get retired, but I don't foresee a Republican saying that today. I'm just saying. I'm just trying to make a point. Like, hey, I'm just saying. When Miss Crockett says that we are basically, when people say that we have a perception problem. See, here's my problem. When people say, and like I said, we're not going to go long, but when people say we have a perception problem, or they have to change the perception, it really is offensive. And it's offensive because we have enough data that shows you that the problem is not perception. Like, if you are not improving my quality of life and pouring resources into my community, then the question then becomes, why should I turn red states blue for you? Because that's what we did for Obama. We turned red states blue. So if that's not happening for me, the question becomes, how should I turn out for you? So if let me bring this up. If this is the life of ADOS as it relates to the IRS, right? We have the least and we get audited the most. If that is our reality, and this is supposed to be the party, our party. We're the base of this party, and you control that's your Department of Treasury. That's your IRS, bud. Like, that's nobody else. You can't say, well, Republicans got in the way. No, the Republicans got in the way of funding, but you can't say in terms of the bias that exists, that's something. No. When you look at who's getting audited the most, poor, mostly black Mississippi County has highest rate of IRS audits. IRS acknowledges black Americans face more audit scrutiny. When you see that, and then you see this, Senate Finance Committee chair revealed that his committee has IRS data showing more than 1.4 million wealthy Americans had neglected to file the federal return. All told, these shirkers potentially owe the government as much as $66 billion. See, when you see that, what that tells you, and let me just put these, I'm going to just put these up beside each other. Hold on a second, wait a second. Because this tells you something, and sometimes you just need to see it. Sometimes you just need to see a thing. Because what this tells you is that America is rigged. That's what it tells you. It tells you that America is rigged. So if you see this, and you see this, right? That tells you that we're in the midst, we're living, and hold on, let me bring this one back up. We're living in a rigged economy. You can't flourish in a country that has one set of rules for you and like this other set of rules for other people. Like that don't work. I don't know how else to kind of explain it, but it just don't work. If you have one set of rules for me and you have one set of rules for rich people and then you have another set of rules for white folk, it doesn't work. You can't, do you know how do you win a rigged game? I just want somebody to tell me, how do you win a rigged game? You don't. If somebody has set the rules up where it's tilted towards them, you can't have the wealth, right? Okay, you can't even have the income, you get audited. Okay, people who already have the income and got the wealth and got all of that while your people were enslaved and doing sharecropping and all kind of other stuff. Okay, and then arrests be different. You can't win. The only way you can't win a rigged game. You know what you can do? And I said this on Twitter. You can change the rules. And the rules are made where? Capitol Hill. Right? Or at your state, if you're talking about the local department or whatever, if you're talking about, that's made on your state level. Politics is where the rule making happens. And that's why I cringe when I hear people just say, only thing we're going to do is stay home. Because there's a lot of stuff that you can do that doesn't involve voting at all before you even get to the voting booth. Right? As it relates to candidates and so on. We've talked about this. We've talked about voting for or against certain ordinances. We've talked about this. We talked about that way back in Politics 101. The rules are stacked against you. Everybody's eating steak and shrimp and lobster, and you are sitting there with a small bowl of cereal if you're lucky. No, that cannot be Jasmine, Miss Crockett. So the problem that we are dealing with is not one of expectation. It's not one of well, we got to change the optics. I saw him say that too. Right? You see, this is the thing. And let me tell you, the problem we have is these ADOS consultants too, who, my take on New York Times poll, a bad poll story is like a bad doctor's visit. It's not the doctor's fault. My cholesterol or blood pressure is high. See, this is a bad analogy already. They're just reporting what they found, even if those perceptions don't include all the facts. Now it's up to them to fix perceptions. No, if I go to the doctor and I have high cholesterol or whatever, somebody got to fix it. Now, in my case, I can probably fix some of that with diet, right? But that's got to be fixed. That's not a perception problem. That's an internal problem that I have going on that I got to fix. In this case, something has to be fixed. It has nothing to do with perception. Now, we do have a lens problem, though. And we do have a problem with our lens and how we see stuff. But what do you mean, Yvette? And I'm not gonna be long. Like I said, I'm not taking long. I'm gonna go 5 minutes into this, hopefully. And I'm not gonna go long because I've already hit this topic, and I don't like to be redundant. But it's great. It's a great topic to kind of go in on occasionally, right? And I want everybody to see it as a topic and not an attack. By that I mean, sometimes I talk about stuff and don't get personal, because I know a lot of people love celebrities they ain't never met, that don't care about them. I know a lot of people are in love with people they never met and never gonna see. But I want to just show you something really quick, because there's still other areas of our lens that we have to tweak after we figure out what's the cost for 20% of the vote. Because everything got to have a price tag. You don't vote. We ain't out here. Y'all think we out here voting for free? Well, we gonna show them. We gonna show these Democrats. Yeah, that's part of it. But don't forget why you voting. You ain't voting just to show somebody something. That's part of it. But what does it cost? Don't nobody do nothing for free. But I've done this show, so I'm not gonna get into it. But Tyler Perry's Paradox, if you want to go have a full understanding of my view of him and what makes him problematic in a lot of ways, you can Google this and go look at it. So, because I'm not gonna go all the way into it. I don't need to go do a show I've already done. So don't say. So I'm not gonna do a show I've already done. If you want the full understanding, you feel free to go look up Tyler Perry's Paradox and go watch it and do that good stuff. That's fine. I just want to talk about one thing that I want to hit on that happened today or yesterday. I don't know when, but it happened recently. So Tyler Perry came out and I just want you to get an understanding, because there's something, because we have to look at what's happening right now, and then you want to make sure that even when reparations happen, people don't have a kind of misunderstanding about who people are in terms of class, because you have to look at race even inside of class. One of the worst things that kind of happened, even in terms of affirmative action, before it got bastardized and went to everybody who was not a straight man. One of the worst things that happened even before that is that even inside of ADOS, it went to the people who made the most money, right? So even inside, it went to the Boule. And so you have to even understand, even in that, like, let me put it this way. If we got reparations tomorrow, and let's say not even no 800, if we got reparations tomorrow, and there were a bunch of black, a bunch of ADOS businesses, because black people wouldn't be getting reparations, it would be ADOS. And blackness doesn't really exist, but that's a whole nother thing. Let's say if that happened tomorrow. Tomorrow we got reparations, and a bunch of people put together money and became a business, and a bunch of people went to work in that business. Do you know what the next thing that should happen? After you have a bunch of ADOS businesses, you know what should happen next? You better get a bunch of ADOS unions. You think you don't need them because they ADOS? No, baby, we haven't developed that kind of community. People are greedy, selling high-priced flash cards and all kind of stuff. We have not developed that. If there is a bunch of money for business, you better believe you need an ADOS union. Hey, I'm just telling you, community ain't what it's supposed to be right now in terms of what we do. So Tyler Perry came out and he said, and hey, shout out to them. I heard the strike is over. They reached an agreement. So shout out to them. And Tyler Perry knew they was about to reach an agreement. That's why he said this. Y'all ain't slick trying to make people think you influence something. But anyway, Tyler Perry says it's really important to know when we've won amid ongoing SAG after strike. There is only a 3-year deal. In 2.5 years, we'll be renegotiating again. So we have to know when we have won for now. That's the thing. For now, if I had ran my business trying to get everything at once, I wouldn't be there. Now, I've got as much as I can for now. See, now let me come out here for a second. There are a number of problems. There are a number of problems with this. And you have to remember, I always say, fam, language is important. And I'm not piling on Tyler Perry. He just provides the most teachable moments of any Negro in America. Him and Oprah just provide the most teachable moments. So first of all, who do you mean we? See, be very wary of that. Be very wary of that. You know how you go to work and they be like, we're a family at this job. I ain't never met no job that's a family. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I'm sure it does somewhere. Where it's a collective and I'm sure it does. I'm saying here, most jobs are not families. Language is important. So when he says we have to know, no. The workers have to know. You, Tyler Perry, are an owner. Language is important. Language is always important, fam. And so you have to ready the landscape, not just for us understanding politics, but us understanding, even in a post-reparations world, what has to happen so that people don't get taken advantage of, or so that we don't believe in some kind of benevolence, because we've been in America a long time and we have adopted some of these habits and some of these ways in which the bottom line is the thing that matters most, right? So you have to, that doesn't just go away in a post-reparations world. We're building towards a collective, hopefully. ADOS is building towards being community-oriented. But Tyler Perry ain't there. He just said we. He just said we. We have to know. You are operating from the perspective of a business owner. The other people who just, kudos to them, like I said, just reached their agreement, they're operating from the perspective of workers. Those are not the same. And one of the most awful things that's happened in America is that we have allowed CEOs to convince us that, we should take them into account. If there's one thing you got to do, as we lay the groundwork for not just this moment, but the post-reparations moment, because that's politics of now and how we're shifting and changing and what we're going to get. But you don't want to be somewhere and you got it and then you just trust the people. Well, nah, I work for ADOS business. It's going to be different. Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. Like I said, only a few minutes here, but hold on. You do not necessarily know that, sir or ma'am. Now, I say that to say this as well. Tyler Perry, as I posted this earlier. But this is the same Tyler Perry. Hold on, let me see if I can find a clip. I'm not even gonna go into it, but I just wanted to show it. I just want to show you why you can't listen to some people. That's all. This is the same man. Remember a few weeks ago he said Obama, what was a few months ago? He said Obama was Obama is Kenyan and white. He said this photo was taken in my house. I bought these chairs from an auction because they belonged to Abraham Lincoln. We both sat in them, had a conversation. I wondered when he freed the slaves, could he have imagined that one day a descendant of those slaves would become the president of the United States? Only in our America, and with all of her flaws, what a great country we live in, and we must keep fighting. He don't know. Like everybody think, no, Tyler Perry really didn't know that Obama wasn't a descendant of slaves. He don't know nothing about politics like that. He really had no clue. Like, you got to be careful about the kinds of things and the kind of knowledge that you attribute to people like Tyler Perry. These people, you think because they have money and they're a boss that they know stuff. They don't, and they operate from the perspective of being a boss. And if you're not a boss, you should still operate from the perspective of being a worker. If you're not a boss, don't operate from some future imagination of yourself. Operate from where you are right now. I'm a worker, and that's how I do. I'm a worker right now. That's what I do. I am a worker. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. I'm a worker. And that's how I move. I'm not going to pretend to be nobody else. But he didn't even know that Obama wasn't a slave. He did that whole tweet and had to delete it. He did that whole. So wait a minute. Obama was here for 8 years. He was in the White House. He was in the White House for all that time. And you never knew Tyler, he wasn't a descendant of slaves. You never knew. So we assume. We make a lot of assumptions about what people know. And that's not being mean to the person. But sometimes you got to understand, just because somebody is wealthy, that doesn't mean they're more knowledgeable than you. That doesn't mean they have your best interest at heart, even if they're ADOS. You have to move with that in mind. We haven't built or rebuilt. We used to have it, but we haven't rebuilt inside of ourselves and in our community, the kind of community that we need. That's not here now. So you have to move with that understanding. And Tyler Perry was talking about we and all that stuff. But the funniest thing about it, when you talk, that Tyler Perry was the one, gosh, what'd I do with it? I put it somewhere, but I don't know if y'all remember. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. But people talk a whole lot of trash. People talk a whole lot of stuff. Well, he was the main one. He's talking about what needs to be. He was never a friend of unions. Right? Now, a lot of, he got in trouble. He's on a list. Tyler Perry's on a list of like, hey, I wouldn't work there if I was you. But he's here in Atlanta because he doesn't, that's part of the reason he's not in California, because of what he will have to pay. And it's not a red state. Georgia's a red state. California's a blue state. More rules and things like that. I'm just saying you should not always make assumptions. That's all I'm saying. It's not to trash nobody. But we got to stop making assumptions about what people know and what they don't know. Whether it's Crockett or whether it's Tyler Perry, or whether or not they have our best interests at heart. Whether it's Black Girl Magic or whether it's Tyler Perry and everybody, the person who everybody just loves to kind of just be drizzling over. Oh, he got all this, he got all that, that doesn't mean that person has your best interest at heart as a worker, right? Or as anything else. So I think even as we plot and path our way ahead. We have to think about these things and keep these things in the forefront of our mind. And I'm gonna keep asking everybody. I'm gonna keep asking everybody. I'm gonna keep at what does 20% cost? If the plan is to go to Trump for 20 to if the plan is if there's to give 20% of the black vote, because I don't know, it includes more than just us, to Trump, what does that cost? Everything got a price, even your vote. What's that cost? What do we get? I'm not saying you have to. Everything is a negotiation. You don't think Tyler Perry was over there negotiating? Everything is a negotiation. What we getting? What's in it? Well, I ain't really think that through. I just thought it would be a protest. Protests are good. Protests are good. I say, hey, I understand. I definitely understand, because the Latinos went that way, but guess what? They all started getting something. Obama changed his mind on DACA. Remember, he said at first he couldn't do nothing about DACA. The Latinos said, we ain't going to vote for you next time. Obama did an executive order. And the executive orders are shifty. They might not do what they're supposed to do, but they gave him a reprieve, and it's in the courts and all that kind of stuff. Like, he did a whole bunch of stuff. So let me just say, we see the same thing with all these other Republicans. They start changing their minds on stuff and chasing Latinos and trying to get them stuff. I'm asking, if we're going to be like them, in terms of splitting the vote or whatever, what is the cost? What's the price of a vote? Ladies and gentlemen, what is the price of a vote? What is the price of 1%, 10%, 15%, 20%, 30%? What's the price? Everything has a price, doesn't it? So I'll just leave it there, fam. I think I'll end it there for tonight. I normally take calls, but I think I'll end it there so we can get out and y'all can get out of here a little bit early. But listen, unless somebody got something they really need to say. I got something I was going to talk about tonight. No. If somebody got something really want to say, let me know. But I didn't want to come in here to say much tonight, really. I just really wanted to come in here and just point out that, like, Tyler Perry, y'all let Tyler Perry, see, that's the thing, y'all let Tyler Perry, who is a union busting guy, like, let's just say that he's been very unfriendly to unions, come in and say, well, this is what we got to do. Like, you have to change how you hear stuff. Like, you have to change the blind side. And it doesn't have to be personal. You just have to have, like, this critical lens that you apply to everything. You got to stop thinking because you apply a critical lens to everything, or because you are a critical thinker, that somehow that makes you a hater. You are not a hater because you look at that and say, you could appreciate everything Tyler Perry does as a businessman. You absolutely could. You in terms of, like, being able in a position to do, but understand that something came with that, and understand that there's something else that came with that in terms of workers, and look at it from the workers' perspective. I understand now, like, the average payer now, the average person now gets paid like $45,000 or whatever. Doesn't change what happened back then. Doesn't change the list that he's on, and it doesn't change the fact that you can't listen to him on politics. I'm not talking about nothing else. I'm not talking about if you want somebody to tell you how to write 30 episodes in I could if you want somebody who want to tell you how to write 30 scripts in 30 days, Tyler Perry's your man. Now, listen, it ain't got to be together. It ain't got to be right. It can have a lot of plot holes. Now, I'm not telling you. If you want to know how to put on a dress as a man and put it on fast and run around and make money, that's genius. I never thought nobody would have been able to do it. He did it on the play. Now, it wasn't perfect. Tyler Perry went around and said he don't want Negroes in chairs they haven't earned. Right? Remember he said he was concerned about diversity because he said, send them over here, I teach the Negroes stuff they don't know. But remember that? What movie was that Tyler Perry did where there was snow on the roof it was the same scene and there was snow on the roof, and then a millisecond later the snow was gone, it had melted or nothing. It was just like, he was like, I ain't going back to fix that. I don't care. I ain't spend no money. I ain't spending no money fixing none of what you talk about, child. I'm gone. Now, if you want to talk to somebody about not having a writing room, I write all my stuff. I write it. It don't matter to be good. I don't care. I write all my stuff. I write it all myself. If you want to ask a man that tall how to fit into some low pumps, Tyler's your man. I'm not saying he ain't no big. Listen, I'm sure he know business better than me. I'm not saying he don't. I'm saying there's certain stuff that has been productive to him. He don't know that Obama was not Adolf. He don't know that. So he can't tell you nothing about politics. He can't tell you nothing. Nothing at all. He can't tell you nothing. He can tell you a lot of things. Tyler Perry said, I don't need a writer's room. I get in and I get it done. I throw some laugh lines in there and some chicken wing jokes, and I'm out of here. Listen, I used to defend Tyler Perry all the time, and I said he gonna get better. Y'all gotta just let him. You gotta let him cook, because I understand that you have to be able to make mistakes, right? Like, that's one thing that white filmmakers talk about all the time, is the ability to be able to make mistakes, writers and that things. But the problem I have with Tyler Perry is that he make mistakes. He's still making mistakes, and then he come back and say that he don't want he think we get an opportunity too soon because he don't want us to make mistakes. Well, doggone. You done made Tyler Perry. You done made every mistake I've ever seen in filmmaking. I don't plot, cinematography, editing. Ain't no mistake you ain't made. You gonna tell Negroes they can't make mistakes. I can't do it, child. I can't. I just can't. So I just brought that. And you know what? I brought it up too because I forgot to bring up that. I forgot that I put a tweet out about it, but I totally forgot his this is Obama was a descendant of slavery. How slow are you that you missed that whole Kenyan White thing? How you with that bitch? He thought he had to delete the tweet. He thought he was on one too. He thought he had the tweet of the year. He took that thing out there. But listen, I'm not saying there's some stuff that, and listen, I'm sure there are aspects of his business that he does very well. I'm sure. But understand right now you are on the other side of that. Right? Understand right now, you don't operate from the position of a boss. You operate from the position of most of y'all as workers. Most of you are self-employed or workers. Understand that. So you have to understand that there are differences. If you don't understand these differences, then people at the top will clean your clock. And they already cleaning our clock as white folks. Lord, we would, one of the most desperate situations we could get in as ADOS people is to be part of the reason we don't trust a lot of our employers is because they're not us. So we be like, that's that white company. I ain't finna go kill myself. I tell him. We ain't gonna do. We ain't gonna. I park where I want to park. I put my car where I want to put my car. Get you one of these trusted ADOS mugs at ADOSfoundation.org. But you'll tell you, I ain't a girl. Let me tell you about my weekend. And because that's you'll be. I worry sometimes that when it comes to ADOS company, we'll put ourselves in a position to be taken advantage of because it's ADOS. And people love to talk that talk with us. They talk black excellence until it's time until they, Tyler Perry be black excellent until you say, I want to be excellent. Well, I don't think it's your time. I don't think you're ready. You got to watch it. That's my concern with diversity. I'm sorry, y'all. I done got too tickled. But anyway, listen, we're not crazy. We're not stupid. You're right. It's time to do something different. If you don't experiment with doing different things in politics, you're going to have a problem. So it's time for an exchange. My only cautionary thing is, and like I put up the chart a little while ago, we have done that before with other Republican presidents. And so the difference maker this time has to be that we're operating with in front of us an agenda that we believe in, an agenda that we adhere to and we have an ask. And depending on how much of the vote they get of ours, that's how the ask changes. My worry and my concern is that I don't want us to get in a position to where a lot of us go vote for Trump, let's say 22%. There is no ask. And we feel some kind of cathartic relief that we have stuck it to Democrats and we're in the same position because we didn't have any ask. So, let's talk about that. I think that's something that we have to address in the coming months as more polls come out. But it just can't be a situation where we hopping from party to party and we're not getting anything, because that doesn't solve our problems either. So we have to get serious about what we're doing, fam, and that's that. So anyway, fam, I appreciate you. I'm gonna let it go. for the night. Patreon. I will see you tomorrow. If you subscribe to Patreon, it's patreon.com/ycarnell. If you haven't subscribed, if you subscribe, I'll see you tomorrow. If not, if you want to, patreon.com/ycarnell. I normally would take calls at this part of the show, but I'm not in the mood for somebody crazy calling. Normally, I'm great with the crazy calls. If somebody calling crazy today, I might, and I don't want to get in trouble because I'm live. So anyway, fam, I'll see y'all next time, and I'll probably take calls next time. Y'all have a good one, fam. All right, good night.